So Jamie, what do you like most about supporting people one-on-one or supporting people on their journeys? Because this is, quite a journey.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I might have the best job in the world. All of these years, it's like I get to watch people come in with a longing, right? The lean in, the first step they take is a longing. It's this belief that there's something possible for them. And then I get to watch that become. It's like the potential fulfills itself in the process, and their eyes get brighter and they start to listen to themselves and the energy starts to move through them. And it's really, and that can be with someone's symptoms and their health. That can be with what they do for work. That can be with their relationships, their day to day, their lifestyle. It's all of those things. And it's like I get to watch the light show up in someone's eyes, right? Return from when they were a baby, and then they had all these agreements that weren't necessarily from their heart and in benefit of their soul. And so, yeah.
So people will come to us and they'll say, what's the difference between the self-study and having a coach? What do you think the difference is, or how is that more beneficial?
Yeah. So you absolutely can do a self-study. One of the things that I see happen sometimes in self-study is that you're working with the same energy that you've always known, right? It's like in your bubble of reality, the one that you grew up with, the air that you breathe, it's kind of like that's all you can access. And when you have a coach and you have a person supporting you, another possibility can come into the field, right? Because what I do when I'm coaching is create a permission field for you to hear your own yes and to hear your own light, which may have been unsafe for you and probably has been for your entire life. And so it's like, you can't even, I see people say like, I want this, but it's like not, there's no pause to consider. They can't even hear that possibility. And so I think that a coach both can bring that in, and also all of the, I never followed through on thing, all of the stories of like, it never works out for me, or I'm especially broken, right? To be eye to eye. And, I've walked with so many people just to say that is not true. No, that's not true. And to really have the opportunity to feel the possibility that that's not true, right? Because I could say to you, like, I've never completed anything and I don't follow through. And I can say like, it's actually true. And I'm telling you this bad thing about me. But for someone to say like, that does not have to be true here. Like, try it on, because all you have to do are these things, right? To shift that story. So I think it's like bringing an energy in that's different and can spark a light in a dark room of what's always been someone's reality.
Next, because then now I want to piggyback off of that. So something else we hear is, I have tried everything, or I've gone to coaches, or I've done these things before. A lot of people come to us at their wit's end.
Yeah. If you find Kelly and you're here, you probably have gotten to the end of the line, because it actually takes a lot of work to arrive in this seat listening to this video. And I always applaud people and really feel like such a bow to anyone here. This is not a Fixit. And that's the thing, right? Like, Kelly's world is not about fixing a problem, and the lens is completely different. And so what all of Kelly's work is designed for you to come back to you, to hear your own voice and to find your own way. Because the reality is, if you think someone else knows for you, you're always going to be in a state of disharmony, right? It's like, oh no, I don't want this. I healed this thing, but I hope nothing bad happens, because who's going to know the answer to that, right? That itself is an unsafe nervous system, which is what all things arise out of, right? Where it's like our channel's not open and our information's not coming in. So the thing that's different is that no one has the answer for you here. We support you in clearing off all of the garbage that we've all accumulated so you can hear your own information. And it's such once you have that, you are free. You're always okay. And that's the difference between this and every other program that I found in this kind of field, right? Is that we're not offering someone knows better. Fix it. It's not what this is.
It's interesting. So I was talking to a woman today about an investment. She's like, this isn't a big investment. This is scary for me. She's like, I feel a little yes, but there's fear around that. And it's so funny. Like, I was telling her that regardless of where somebody is in life, whether somebody's making $500 a month or somebody's making $100,000 a month, to leap into the next level, or like in every situation, we're always moving beyond kind of that middle ground of like, oh, this is scary. So granted, this offering or this work is a yes, right? Because sometimes it really isn't a yes, and that's okay. But oftentimes there is the yes, but then there's the fear and all these other things. So do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because in terms of investment, it's like you can't really compare what we're doing here to anything else. It's like, what's your investment to freedom, right? Like if I can go back and say, I didn't want to pay to start this journey, I can't imagine where I would be, right? There's no amount of money, and money is also an energy. There's no amount of money that can match the journey that I have been on when I knew that when I discovered that my information was what I came to listen to and what would actually lead me home to the most beautiful, healthy, vibrant life, and that is worth everything, first of all. And I do think, I know for myself, every time I stand at the edge of something I want, there's always a discomfort. It's like, it's required because otherwise we already have it, right? We would already have the thing in our lives. If there wasn't a discomfort that we had to walk through to receive that, like we wouldn't be having the conversation. I always know that's true. When you realize that, you start to look for it, right? Like, yes. Because you want what's on the other side. And that's also a leap of faith. It's like we can't know true okayness until we know that our longing leads us to be supported always, right? Because if someone's interested in this, they want to be well, free, they want the medicine here, the medicine, and they can't afford it or like it's not for them. It's like, I feel like, what does that say about the world? And if we were telling ourselves that story, then we're going to keep getting that over and over again.
Jamie, tell us about some of the biggest transformations you've witnessed and experienced through this work. And yeah,
I think the one always comes to mind, and it's the woman who had debilitating chronic back pain. And I'm talking about on her back, unable to function like most of the day, right? Couldn't go downstairs, like couldn't walk and live and function in the world. And through her process, her back began to heal. She was able to get a job, which gave her more power in her family and which was essential for the dynamics of her family and the way that she was in a disempowered position, almost like she was the sick one. And literally her back healed to where she was fully functioning in the world, had a really active job, and she started to make choices for herself. And it's almost like, it's like a different movie, a different game board, right? Fairly quickly. And nobody would have said that was possible, right? Those are the kind of nonlinear results that we see, but it's not like, well, you do this, this, and this, and then that happens. It's not that way, right? Healing happens in extraordinary ways. And there's so many outcomes that are mind blowing.
I hear we meet with women a lot and men where relationships can be a challenge. Do you have any clients or can think of any experiences relationships wise that healed or got better or transformed?
Yeah, I know a woman who I don't know if she'd been married 20 or 30 years, but the last time I spoke to her, right? Because sometimes these things, it's like seeds are planted and then it shifts, right? When the conditions are set for that, she rediscovered her husband. And probably, I say rediscovered because I bet when they connected, that spark was there. And he, from almost like years and years of being estranged, they became the first people that ever loved each other. That it's like she learned about love from him 20 or 30 years into their marriage. Right. And they became companions and lovers and had joy. It was brilliant, right? Because and I see this changing in the field. A lot of people would get divorced, right? It's like you reclaim something you want and you're like, you're not good for me anymore. And I'm seeing that shift where a lot of women and men are taking back the power they have to shift their relationships toward what they want. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And families can stay together and it's incredible.
Tell us how you met Kelly. And it's so funny when I talk to people, I tell them, Kelly is amazing online. And then in person, it's like, how can somebody be 10 times better? But she's just like so larger than life and fun. And so how did you meet Kelly and how has your relationship progressed at work?
Yeah. So I met Kelly when my kids were 1 and 2 and I was a stay-at-home mom and I was in a healing group and someone kept giving me her book, as we do once we know her work, right? We're kind of like knock on people's doors. And I saw her program online. And the reason that I was drawn to it is because I wasn't taking medication, but I had had a history in the mental health system and was really carrying a story about there being something wrong with me. And, self-medicating and kind of like living against myself in a way. And I saw, she did actually a podcast with Charles Eisenstein, and she talked about the feeling of lighting a candle, the pleasure of that experience and the peace of that experience. And Kelly being a psychiatrist, creating this program and talking about that, it was sort of like worlds collided, right? It was like she brought the spiritual and the journey of the soul into a field of health and wellness, one that I was very familiar with and was still carrying a story that I got in that world around, that I had depression and that I had anxiety and that I was always going to have that. And almost like my misery was like I had a chemical imbalance that I would always have to live with. So I did her program and my life changed. And that was the beginning of my relationship with Kelly.
And you, from your conversations with you and from Kelly, it sounds like you helped develop a lot of the programs around health and VLP and components of VMR. And can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So VMR existed in the same form that it exists now, which is really incredible. The outcome there were some outcomes and those are just growing. But the reason I actually stepped in was I felt like something was so true for me there, that there was this light that turned on inside of me. And that if I didn't really step into that in a way that I could find what was available, if I didn't step into it, I would go back to my old patterns. Because at that time, there wasn't any coaching. There was no additional support. It was 44 days and then you're on your own. So I started to volunteer and did some community work. And then eventually started leading circles in VMR. Coaching, was on her team when we created Vital Life Project, her membership, created the certification with her so that others could lead people through VMR. That was years later. But yeah, I've gotten to be in a lot of the projects and really am a good, I feel, match for Kelly. We have much different energies.
I would agree with that. When I tell people about you and then Kelly, it's you very different energies. And I just want to give people kind of a taste of you and, where you're coming from
Yeah, totally. I think that there's some things in there that are really me and that they'll get a feeling and it'll be helpful for them to know, if they're a yes or not too. Okay. I'm going to jump in.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.